My name is Justin, and I've been in love with my best friend Gabriel for 3 years, 2 months, and 16 days. Not that I'm counting or anything. The problem is that Gabriel is completely, unquestionably straight. He's the kind of guy who talks about women with genuine appreciation, who's had a string of serious girlfriends, and who once spent 20 minutes explaining to me why he thought Scarlett Johansson was the perfect woman. Meanwhile, I've been sitting next to him through all of this, nodding and agreeing while secretly dying inside because I know I'll never be what he wants. Gabriel and I have been best friends since our sophomore year at UCLA. We met in a computer science class where we were randomly paired for a programming project, and somehow clicked immediately despite being completely different people. Gabriel is outgoing and confident, the kind of person who makes friends easily and seems comfortable in any situation. I'm more reserved, prefer small groups to parties, and have always been better with computers than people. But with Gabriel, conversation was easy from day one. He appreciated my dry sense of humor, and I was drawn to his infectious enthusiasm for everything from new programming languages to obscure indie bands. We started studying together, then hanging out outside of class, and by the end of the semester we were inseparable. Now, 5 years later, we're both working at tech companies in Seattle, sharing an apartment in Capitol Hill, and maintaining the kind of close friendship that people sometimes mistake for a romantic relationship, which would be great if it actually was one. But Gabriel has never shown the slightest indication that he sees me as anything more than his best friend and roommate. I've gotten good at hiding my feelings. I've perfected the art of listening to Gabriel talk about his dating life without letting my expression show how much it hurts. I've learned to appreciate the casual physical affection he shows. Arm around my shoulders during movies, playful punches when I make bad jokes, the occasional hug, without reading more into it than friendship. It's not a sustainable situation, but I've convinced myself it's better than risking our friendship by admitting to feelings he could never reciprocate. That philosophy was working fine until last Friday night, when my carefully constructed walls came crashing down thanks to a stupid bar bed and too much alcohol. It started innocently enough. Gabriel and I had gone to Murphy's, our usual Friday night spot, to unwind after a particularly stressful week at work. We claimed our regular table in the back, ordered our usual drinks, beer for Gabriel, whiskey for me, and were settling in for what I expected to be a normal evening of complaining about our respective projects and maybe playing pool later. What I hadn't counted on was running into Derek, Gabriel's old college roommate, who was in town for a conference and apparently determined to turn our quiet evening into a party. Gabriel, Justin, Derek's voice boomed across the bar as he spotted us. I can't believe you guys are still joined at the hip. Some things never change. Derek was already several drinks in, loud and jovial in the way that suggested he'd been bar hopping before finding us. He pulled up a chair and immediately launched into stories about his new job in San Francisco, his recent breakup, and his theories about why Seattle had the best tech scene on the West Coast. You know what I miss about college? Derek said after his third drink since joining us. Those epic truth or dare games we used to play. Remember that time Gabriel had to serenade that girl in the quad? That was mortifying, Gabriel laughed. She called campus security because she thought I was stalking her. Or when Justin had to do that streak across the library. Classic. I cringed at the memory. I'm still banned from the 3rd floor because of that. We should play again, Derek announced. For old time's sake. Come on, it'll be fun. We're not 20 anymore, Derek, I said. Truth or dare is for college kids. Bullshit. Truth or dare is timeless. Besides, what else are we going to do? Sit here and talk about our feelings like responsible adults. Gabriel was grinning in the way that meant he was actually considering Derek's ridiculous suggestion. It could be entertaining. Plus, we're already drunk enough that we might actually follow through on the dares. Speak for yourself, I said, but I was already feeling the warm buzz of whiskey that made bad decisions seem reasonable. Come on, Justin, Derek cajoled. Live a little. What's the worst that could happen? Famous last words. We ended up playing for 2 hours, with the dares becoming progressively more embarrassing as the alcohol flowed. Gabriel had to ask the bartender for her number. She said no, but was flattered. Derek had to perform an interpretive dance to a Taylor Swift song. I had to convince a stranger that I was a professional mime. It was stupid and ridiculous and exactly the kind of immature fun that I'd forgotten I missed. But then Derek, who was by this point thoroughly drunk and apparently feeling mischievous, looked at me with a gleam in his eyes that should have been a warning. Okay, Justin, truth or dare? I should have chosen truth. I should have played it safe and let Derek ask me some embarrassing but harmless question about my dating life or college memories. Instead, buoyed by alcohol and the infectious energy of the evening, I chose dare. Dare, I said, and immediately regretted it when Derek's grin became positively evil. I dare you, Derek said slowly, clearly enjoying the dramatic pause. To confess your feelings to someone you have a crush on, right now, in person. My blood turned to ice. What? You heard me. Call someone you're interested in, or better yet, if they're here, go tell them in person. Full confession, how long you've liked them, what you find attractive about them, the whole romantic speech. Derek, that's not fair. That's not a dare. That's emotional manipulation. A dare's a dare, Justin, unless you want to forfeit and buy drinks for the rest of the night. I looked around the bar desperately, hoping to find some stranger I could approach with a fake confession, some way to fulfill the dare without destroying my life. But Murphy's was mostly empty except for a few regulars at the bar and a couple in the corner booth who were clearly on a date. There's nobody here I have a crush on, I said weakly. Derek's grin widened. Really? Nobody at all. That's when I realized Derek knew. Somehow, he'd figured out my feelings for Gabriel. And this whole dare was his way of forcing me into a confession I was nowhere near ready to make. Derek, I said quietly, hoping Gabriel couldn't hear over the bar's music, don't do this. Do what? I'm just asking you to complete a simple dare, unless there's someone specific you're worried about confessing to. Gabriel, who had been watching this exchange with growing confusion, finally spoke up. What's going on? Justin, who are you worried about confessing to? I felt trapped, cornered by Derek's knowing smirk and Gabriel's innocent curiosity, and my own stupid decision to choose dare instead of truth. The whiskey in my system was making it hard to think clearly, and the weight of 3 years of hidden feelings was suddenly overwhelming. I forfeit, I said finally. I'll buy the drinks. No way, Derek said. A dare's a dare. You chose this, Justin. Follow through. Derek, seriously, drop it. Why? What's the big deal? Unless, Derek's expression became exaggeratedly thoughtful. Unless the person you want to confess to is someone who might be surprised by the confession, someone who might not expect it because they think you're just friends. Gabriel was looking between Derek and me with growing realization. He might be straight, but he wasn't stupid, and Derek was being about as subtle as a brick through a window. Justin, Gabriel said quietly, what is he talking about? I could have lied. I could have made up some story about a coworker or someone from college or a complete stranger I'd been too nervous to approach. Instead, looking into Gabriel's concerned brown eyes and feeling the weight of years of deception, I found myself telling the truth. He's talking about you, I said. The silence that followed was deafening. Derek looked satisfied, Gabriel looked shocked, and I felt like I was going to throw up. Me. Gabriel's voice was barely above a whisper. Gabriel. I started, then stopped, unsure how to continue. How do you explain 3 years of hidden feelings in a noisy bar while your drunk friend watches like it's entertainment? Maybe we should go home, Gabriel said finally. Talk about this somewhere private. Good idea, Derek said cheerfully, apparently oblivious to the tension he'd created. You two work this out. I'm going to find someone else to bother. The walk back to our apartment was silent and awkward. Gabriel kept his hands in his pockets, maintaining careful distance between us, while I tried to figure out how to explain myself without making everything worse. Our apartment felt different when we got inside, like the revelation at the bar had shifted the entire dynamic of our shared space. We stood in the living room, looking at each other across a gulf that felt impossibly wide despite the fact that we were only a few feet apart. So, Gabriel said finally, how long? How long what? How long have you had feelings for me? I could have minimized it, made it sound recent and insignificant. Instead, I found myself being completely honest. 3 years. Since that weekend we went camping, and you spent an hour teaching me how to build a proper campfire because I kept doing it wrong, and you were so patient and funny about it, and I realized I was completely gone for you. Gabriel sat down heavily on our couch. 3 years. Jesus, Justin, why didn't you say anything? Because you're straight. Because you've never shown any interest in men. Because I was terrified of ruining our friendship over feelings you could never return. But 3 years of pretending? 3 years of listening to me talk about dating women and never saying anything. What was I supposed to say? Hey, Gabriel, I know you're my straight best friend, but I'm in love with you and it's torture watching you with other people. Gabriel was quiet for a long moment, staring at his hands. When he finally looked up, his expression was complicated in a way I couldn't read. Justin, I need to tell you something. What? I'm not as straight as you think I am. I stared at him. What does that mean? It means I've been questioning things for a while now. It means there have been times when I wondered if what I felt for you was more than friendship, but I convinced myself I was imagining it because I thought you were straight. You thought I was straight. You've never dated guys. You've never mentioned being attracted to men. You had that girlfriend in college, and you've talked about finding women attractive. I was trying to seem normal. I was trying to fit in and not make things weird between us. Gabriel laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. So we've both been pretending to be straight for each other's benefit, while secretly wanting something more? Apparently. That's either the most romantic thing I've ever heard, or the most pathetic. I'm leaning toward pathetic. Gabriel stood up and moved closer, stopping just in front of where I was standing. Justin, can I ask you something? Sure. When you said you wanted to confess your feelings, what exactly were you planning to confess? My heart was racing, but I'd already come this far. That I'm in love with you. That I have been for years. That you're the first person I think about when I wake up and the last person I think about before I fall asleep. That I know every expression you make, every habit you have, every story you tell when you're nervous or excited or sad. And that I think you're beautiful. That I love your laugh and the way you get excited about new projects and how you always remember to buy my favorite coffee creamer even though you hate the brand. That I love how patient you are with people and how you never make me feel weird for being introverted. Gabriel's eyes were bright, and he was standing close enough now that I could smell his cologne. Is that everything? That's the important parts. Good, because I need you to know something too. What? I love you too. Before I could process what he'd said, Gabriel cupped my face in his hands and kissed me. It was soft and tentative at first, like he was testing whether this was really happening. But when I kissed him back, it deepened into something desperate and relieved and perfect. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. How long? I asked, echoing his earlier question. Honestly, I think I've been half in love with you since we moved in together, but I didn't let myself acknowledge it until about 6 months ago, when you got food poisoning, and I spent the whole weekend taking care of you. And all I could think about was how much I liked being the person you needed. 6 months? Gabriel, why didn't you say anything? Same reason you didn't. I was scared. I'd never felt this way about a guy before, and I didn't know how to handle it. Plus, I was convinced you saw me as nothing more than a friend. I thought about all the missed opportunities, all the times we'd been close to something more, but held back by fear and assumptions. We're idiots, I said. Complete idiots, Gabriel agreed. But maybe we can be idiots together now. I'd like that. Gabriel smiled, and it was the brightest expression I'd ever seen from him. So what happens now? Now we stop pretending we're just friends and start figuring out what we are instead. And what do you think we are? I looked at Gabriel, my best friend, my roommate, the person I'd been in love with for 3 years, and realized that despite all my fears about ruining our friendship, this felt right in a way that nothing else ever had. I think we're whatever we want to be. Gabriel kissed me again, and this time there was nothing tentative about it. This time it felt like coming home. We spent the rest of the night talking, sorting through years of miscommunication and hidden feelings. Gabriel told me about the moments when he'd wondered if there was something more between us, and I admitted to all the times I'd almost confessed my feelings but lost my nerve at the last minute. Remember that night last month when we fell asleep on the couch watching movies? Gabriel asked as we lay in his bed, finally together in the way I'd dreamed about but never thought possible. Yeah, you were using my shoulder as a pillow. I woke up before you did, and for about 10 minutes I just lay there thinking about how perfect it felt. How right. I almost kissed you then. Really, really. But then you woke up and made that joke about how I drool in my sleep, and the moment passed. I don't think you drool. I just say that because you look unfairly attractive when you sleep, and it makes me feel better to pretend you have flaws. Gabriel laughed, the sound rumbling through his chest where my head was resting. What other fake flaws have you assigned to me to make yourself feel better? Oh, tons. You leave dishes in the sink sometimes. You sing off-key in the shower. You have terrible taste in romantic comedies. Those aren't fake flaws. Those are real flaws. Fine, then you have no fake flaws. You're annoyingly perfect, which is why I've been pining after you for 3 years. Not anymore. No more pining. No more pining. Now you get to actually have me. The next morning, I woke up in Gabriel's arms, momentarily disoriented by the unfamiliar intimacy before remembering everything that had happened the night before. Gabriel was still asleep, his face relaxed and peaceful in the morning light, and I took a moment to appreciate the fact that I could finally look at him without hiding my feelings. Morning, Gabriel mumbled when he felt me stirring. How are you feeling? Good. Really good. A little surreal, but good. No regrets. None, you. Gabriel tightened his arms around me. Only that we waited so long to figure this out. We should probably thank Derek. We should probably kill Derek. That was the most manipulative dare in the history of truth or dare. But it worked. Yeah, it worked. 3 months later, Gabriel and I had settled into a relationship that felt both completely new and completely natural. We'd figured out how to be roommates and boyfriends simultaneously, how to balance couple time with friend time, how to navigate the shift from hidden feelings to open affection. Any regrets about that night at Murphy's? Gabriel asked one evening as we cooked dinner together, moving around each other in the kitchen with practiced ease. About getting drunk and being manipulated into confessing my feelings through a ridiculous dare. That's the one. I thought about it seriously. The confession hadn't gone according to any plan I'd ever imagined. It had been messy and public and orchestrated by someone else's agenda rather than my own choice. But it had also been the catalyst that changed everything between us for the better. No regrets, I said finally. Though next time we see Derek, I'm buying him dinner. Expensive dinner. Next time we see Derek, I'm going to ask him how long he's known about our feelings for each other. Probably longer than we knew ourselves. Gabriel laughed, pulling me close for a kiss that tasted like the wine we'd been drinking while cooking. Sometimes it takes outside perspective to see what's right in front of you. Sometimes it takes a ridiculous dare to force you into being honest about what you want. And sometimes, Gabriel said, resting his forehead against mine, the best things happen when you stop being afraid of taking risks. As we stood there in our kitchen, surrounded by the evidence of the life we'd built together as friends and were now rebuilding as something more, I realized that Derek had been right about one thing. Some dares were worth taking, even when they scared you, especially when they scared you. After all, the best love stories often start with someone being brave enough to tell the truth, even when the truth feels impossible to say.